how is technology and all that envelops the responsibility of the IT team and security team, how does that translate into the business, right? Because we're constantly going back to the business leaders and asking them for resources, money, right? Time to implement things to better the business. But what's happening, there's a bigger gap now on the way or the mechanisms that IT or security has to actually take the effort and translate it into what the business understands. So obviously from a business point of view, I go back to the CEO and I say, well, if you don't do this, okay, the reputation of the company, the software is not going to be usable. We're going to have to reinvent the way we approach, right, selling this software because of these particular issues, et cetera. Now, how do I take that argument and translate it into what I'm asking for in terms of resources, investment, and the time to implement that? That's really the key to what a CIO and a CISO are trying to do on a regular basis. Now, today, the challenge there is everybody in the world is being hacked, okay? Or somebody's breaching something. So that level of exposure and awareness is making it actually a lot easier for myself or a CISO to go back to management and say, I need this and I need that, because look at what's in the funny papers today. Situations like that are high profile is making it a lot easier for a CISO or CIO to go back and articulate the damage and the exposure, okay, of not doing a lot of these recommended security projects, right? So I would say really the PR that's happening in the, in life today is helping it make it a lot easier for us to go back and get what we need in order to quote unquote secure the enterprise, right? For what you need to understand the assets you need to manage to secure the enterprise, right? To actually secure the estate that you're managing. That's an easy argument to go back to management and say, I need to know what I need to secure. Okay. I need money for an ITAM product. Okay. On top of that, once you get that, it's easy to go back and say, well, now that I know where all my assets are, I know how to manage them, I need to properly secure them with new patching software, right? I need to have service management. So if something happens with those assets, I can go back in and have an accurate record of what I remediated, when I remediated it, why it broke, right? So it doesn't happen again, proactively making sure it doesn't happen again. So really, the industry's kind of feeding on itself, right? A lot of problems. Okay, a lot of problems. Very easy to go out and say, this is how I'm going to fix it. I need ITAM. I need service management. I need patch, right? I need ways to secure the environment. So very easy because, unfortunately, there's been too many issues, out there with cyber security events taking place almost on a regular basis. So the argument is becoming a lot easier, obviously, to make to the management because they understand the risk, right? Major risk, PR-wise, reputational-wise, not a good thing for a company to continue to be exposed from a cybersecurity point of view. So to hear that there's silos between how organizations are communicating, collaborating, that falls upon the C-level executive to make sure that that's not happening. Now, how do you do that? Obviously, regular meetings, discussions on priorities and so on, but also making sure the tooling that's in place forces a level of sharing of data, right? And awareness of what's happening in all these operating environments. The fact that you have teams using different data, different processes to analyze data, and not being able to connect the dots between that data, that's where the real problems occur, okay? So it's up to the C-level executive to make sure that all levels, right, from the way people and process work together to the way the tools are integrated, it's up to that executive to make sure that those things are being fixed. And then you don't have a silo. Then you don't have a situation where you can't connect the dots and then thus not remediate or become aware of these vulnerabilities or issues that are happening in your environment. So I kind of look at it as more of a top-down approach to breaking down these silos and making sure the C-level executive is held accountable for how these people are communicating and using their tools. We have firsthand lessons learned of what it means to have business and technology work hand in hand to understand what budget, what resources, what talent, right, needs to be in place to make sure we do not have these issues in the future. So we are a great example of what it means to have management and technology come together and align on the efforts to secure and develop. We signed the Secure by Design standard put forward by the United States government. We're one of the first signers. So we now have taken it another step and have ingrained in our development process these procedures that will head off and proactively eliminate a lot of vulnerabilities that were just missed in the past, okay? Because now we got the management of our company to buy in on the right processes, the right procedures, the right talent to develop secure code for the future, all right? So great example of how we did come together, manage the technology, and we built the right processes that we need to be successful now and in the future as we develop really unbelievable products for our customers. And because of that, we have clear lines of role, responsibility, and process in order to understand what needs to be secured and further remediated in the future. So that's important because you're always going to find issues. How you prioritize fixing those issues is very important. And having an alignment with your CIO and CISO on that prioritization really makes a difference, okay? It really aligns on how we can work together to make sure that what we're giving our customers, we all agree needed to be fixed so it wasn't going to present a problem in the future. So we're a great example of how you break down those silos and how you bring C-level and then those organizations together to produce the right talent, the right process and tooling to secure an enterprise.